I'd like to call the meeting to order. Roll call, please.
President Byrne,
Here.
trustees Hebda,
Here.
Schultz,
Here.
Marport,
Here.
Cook,
Here.
Grebe,
Here.
Williams.
We have a quorum present. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Are there any citizens that wish to address the board tonight on anything other than what's going to be on committee of the whole? Anybody? Anyone? Not even the Boy Scouts? No? Okay. I just got to turn this thing off. Okay. Phew. All right. Chief. Animal Care and Control Program.
Earlier this year, we received a revised fee-for-service agreement between the Village of Vernon Hills and the Lake County Health Department. And the reason I bring this to your attention is because this is actually a good thing this time. The Lake County Health Department has reduced the fees that they charge for impounding cats, and that really is almost the only change on this. They used to charge between $90 and $100 if your cat was picked up and impounded.
Yeah.
Now the fee is $35. They're really trying to encourage people to come find their cats and pick up their cats. So that's really the crux of this.
Yeah.
It doesn't cost us anything to be a member of the agreement. As I mentioned, the fee schedule has dropped significantly for picking up cats. And then should the village, if we do join this, should the village ever need the services of the Lake County Animal Warden, if you're a member, they charge you $50 an hour to come out and assist. If you're a non-member, it's $200. And I think we impound animals at the Lake County Animal Shelter about 12 times a year. It's not a lot, but it really is in the best interest of our residents if we become a member of this and sign off in the agreement. We have been a member for years.
Yeah.
And this is just a new agreement that came forth. So no action is required at this point. It's on the consent agenda. So I just bring it to your attention so you know what it is. And it kind of
Okay.
lets everyone else.
And this is the same department that does the, where they'll tranquilize an animal?
Yes. Yes. And they're the ones that participate with us in the animal chipping program that we do every spring, microchipping.
Were you here when we gave up on that?
On the tranquilizing?
Yeah.
No, but I was part of it in my former community where we used to do it.
Yeah. Every once in a while,
It'll be a little too much.
well, somebody,
Yeah.
yes, the animal might not make it.
Yeah. 'Cause it's based on the weight of the animal and you're kind of eyeballing it and guessing.
So they got somebody that really understands that, yeah.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Omnibus vote agenda. Is there any motion to approve A through K?
So made. Second.
Motion is second. Any comments or questions on this? If not, roll call.
Trustees Schultz,
Aye.
Marport,
Aye.
Cook,
Aye.
Grebe,
Aye.
Williams, Hebda.
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay. Okay, we have is there a motion to approve the village board minutes of January 19th, 2016?
So made. Second.
Motion is second. Any comments, questions, deletions, or corrections? If not, roll call, please.
Trustees Marport,
Aye.
Cook,
Aye.
Grebe,
Aye.
Williams, Hebda,
Aye.
Schultz.
Aye.
Motion carried. Is there any new business or communications that come before the board? Trustee Cook. Excuse me.
Well, two things. It just happened over the weekend to be downstate because my granddaughter dances at Libertyville, and this area was extremely well represented. Stevenson took second in the large schools, 3A in the state. Libertyville was third, and Vernon Hills finished 10th, so they made the top 10. In fact, it's kind of interesting. The North Suburban Conference had 5 of the final 10 in the 2A and 3 of the final 10 in the 3A. And Stevenson's boys bowling team won state, so this was a big weekend for this area in the North Suburban Conference. So congratulations to all those teams. The other thing I wanted to question, do we, and I've been talking to Joe Carey, but do we need to maybe have another meeting with not-so-advanced disposal? I mean, in the transmittal, we got this, that they're, well, the last time I talked to the guy, he couldn't really explain to me how they were prepared to keep track of multifamily homes, and now I know why, because they're having trouble keeping track of single-family homes. And if they can't keep track of people who actually are separate houses, how are they gonna, bill people if they, have problems? And we've had several things where we've just said to them, look, if you want to, we'll have you bill everybody and you can figure out who you're picking up with those 6 sets of trash cans all in the same place. Can we find out what they're doing with this? Because that was kind of a strange thing to see that they had, unable to keep track of that.
I'd be happy to reach out to Advanced Disposal and get a specific list of what their plans to do to continue to audit the number of residential addresses within the village, as well as what their steps are to make sure that this doesn't happen again.
Well, and because what happened, I believe it was the Thanksgiving weekend where it seemed like it was last minute that they changed the date of the pickup and, and made it different than every other holiday they'd ever done, and said, oh yeah, well, we notified the village. And I said, well, how are they going to notify everybody within 2 days that there's been a change made? So
One of the plans for this year is to do a brochure by Advanced Disposal that will be sent to all the residents outlining their services, the dates of services, and specifically to your comment, the holidays and how that will impact their collection days.
yeah, I mean, that would be very good because it would be very helpful for people to know that kind of thing and then make them stick to what they plan.
Just a
Thank you.
2-year or 3-year contract?
This is a 5-year agreement.
Ooh. Okay. So if the price of oil goes to $100 again, it won't affect our bill next year?
Next year, no. There's a rate freeze for next year, and the rates are tied to inflation with a range of 2 to 5% based off of the consumer price index for the urban area.
Yeah. Probably people are putting more, fuel tanks in at their businesses. Might as well buy it before it explodes. Okay, any other new business? Okay, do we have to go into closed session? Wow, that's kind of nice. All right, is there a motion to adjourn the board meeting and go into committee of the whole?
So made. Second.
Motion is second. Roll call, please.
Trustees Cook,
Aye?
Grebe,
Aye.
Williams, Hebda,
Aye.
Schultz,
Aye.
Markwart.
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, I'd like to call the committee of the whole meeting to order. First item of business is approval of the committee of the whole meeting minutes from January 19th, 2016. Is there a motion?
So made. Second.
Motion is second. Any comments or questions, deletions, corrections? If not, roll call, please.
Trustees Grebe,
Aye.
Williams, Hebda,
Aye.
Schultz,
Aye.
Markwart,
Aye.
Cook.
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay. Pretty much the only item on here, but there's 2 parts, A and B, is Loyola Cuneo Mansion property. In essence, redeveloping a portion of it for residential.
Thank you, Your Honor. Pulte Homes is here before us again tonight. They were here on November 3rd for a concept presentation for the development of the 128 single-family homes. Based off the feedback we received by the committee at that time, staff and I have met with Pulte on numerous occasions to discuss the architecture, specifically as it relates to masonry construction on the side, rear, and front elevations. And with that, they provided new sets of plans, that are both within your packet, but also in front of you. The most recent packet is the ones, the hard copies displayed. Pulte's here tonight. They're here to answer any questions.
How
and
many
go-
people are Pulte people?
They're all Pulte.
Want to raise your hands? Come on, oh, you're Loyola, that's right.
You're Loyola.
You're the only one that stands, you're the only one to stand to benefit from this, right? It's the right answer. How much will go to the endowment fund?
Well, 3 million is going to the mansion improvement.
No, no, no. How much will go to the endowment fund?
None of it will go to the endowment,
Okay, what is it?
going to need-based scholarships.
Why don't you come up here? You can't say how much is going.
The balance of the transaction will go to need-based scholarships in accordance to the
Okay.
agreement with
Those are
the
between-
foundation,
10 and 12 million?
probably.
Okay,
Less
that-
than 12, I mean,
at least it's ballpark, you know?
yes.
3 million, will 3 million do it?
Yes.
It, really? Staff? It won't be touching up the,
They will not be touching up the frescoes.
yeah, okay.
But yes, it will stabilize it, and we've seen the list of improvements or repairs that are gonna be made. Mike's looked at them, and yeah, it will do substantial work to that facility.
Stabilize the structure.
Yep,
And then that work will start when?
that's been
Well,
ongoing.
It's been ongoing. We will tee it up right after we get a closing date to begin the work. It'll be done in proportion to the takedown of the property, depending on the percentage that goes,
Is this tied into the phasing?
yes. It's tied into the phasing, which we don't have an exact plat of survey on yet, but we will proportionally,
So the 3 million could go into the fund over several years?
over the two takedowns, which have to occur within 18 months of each other.
Yeah.
So the first takedown occurs, and the second takedown
When are the
Has-
takedowns, supposedly?
late 16? Hopefully. November of 16.
That's one.
And then within 18 months of that, the second takedown has to occur,
So,
according to our agreement.
okay, it's all right.
And then we would communicate with staff on the exact scope of the work that would be done in each of those phases. And if we've already sort of sketched that out in the timeline, and depending exactly how that occurs, then we would commence with the work.
So our staff is satisfied.
Yes, sir.
And the county?
My understanding is they are.
Indications are they are.
Okay. All right, well, that could come together, what, as soon as April?
Yeah.
We don't have a definitive date from the county yet, but that's
Right.
what we're targeting, based on our last conversations.
Yeah, well, yeah, the definitive dates, you know, let's try to push this one if we decide, you know, to approve it and let it go to next step is technical review.
Right.
Even though technically it's been reviewed any number of times. Within reason. Okay.
I have a couple of questions.
Yeah, I'm done. I just wanted to get Tim up here and hear the gospel from Loyola.
I just have a couple of questions, and this could be Loyola's questions. The artwork, was there an inventory done on all the art that was in the mansion?
Oh, yes.
And can we get a copy of that?
I'll have to check.
Because I know one of the concerns that Trustee Williams had, and she's not here this evening, was that we be able to bring that artwork back.
We have committed to certain pieces
Well, I'd like
that
to
were
see
able
those
to come
come.
back. That's in the preservation.
Is that in,
agreement.
okay, because
Yeah.
I would very much
And
like,
we're continuing to evaluate
Sure.
what additional pieces
can come back.
can come back.
Right.
And depending on, once we seal the building envelope, get some better controls of the environment, it'll be tested to determine if the
If it could be-
additional
okay.
pieces. You know, our last test had the humidity levels pretty low, which is not the best of environments. So we're working to see when we seal up the rest
There
of.
wasn't any humidifiers.
Well, the conversion of some of the heat improved it a little bit in the
Right.
winter.
I'm just going back
But then
to-
the other problem is the
So then,
humidity in the
here's my
summer.
next question to you. So this 3 million is going to go take care of the mansion.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so then who's going to pay for the restoration of the artwork?
Well, a lot, the
Is that
art,
Loyola?
we have.
Okay.
Um,
And you'll
we've-
continue
And
to?
we have solicited external funding for some
For
of
that,
that, which is, we've been granted. We've also, there are a number of universities across the country that have art restoration
Mm-hmm.
programs. We've sent some of the pieces to those programs that have that as part of the technical training, and
Sure.
some have come back from that process. It's a matter of how stable is the environment going to be to accept pieces back
Back in there, okay.
in there, and we continue to evaluate that. But the true test will occur when we finish the work that needs
And
to be
then,
done.
just like an old house, what kind of monies do you set aside? I mean, the 3 million's going to go, and then who's
Right.
going to
Well-
take care of the rest down the road? if
Right, well,
something
we,
happens?
our obligation to the foundation is to run it,
Forever.
well, no, for 20 years under our agreement, and we would use the regular university operating dollars like we have up until now
Okay.
to operate the mansion, which is separate from this capital
Right,
investment.
right, okay. I guess I'd like to see an inventory of the artwork that was taken out, if that's feasible or possible, to see
I'll
what
check.
Well, who
I mean-
owns the
The
artwork?
university,
university does.
Clear.
clear.
It's all the years, right.
Is there anything really good? You know, like,
You know, I'm not,
Like
I'm not-
South
that's
Beach?
not my area of
like
expertise.
South Be good, anything that good?
No,
you know?
there's things in there that were very,
well,
very
and-
valuable and good.
And I think part of it was actually a concern about security as well.
Sure, absolutely, I
That
understand
needs to
that.
be evaluated as we
I
move
just
forward.
felt that that was a piece, and I think trustee Williams thought that's a piece of the museum that your docents would take us through and explain it, and it
Right.
would sure be nice to have those pieces, what can survive there under the circumstances, at least be brought back
And-
and not disappear.
Right, well, they're not disappearing.
I know they're not
I can assure
disappearing.
you of that, but we have committed to, that's not my area of expertise,
I
art
understand, I
curating. So
understand.
I really need to rely on the expertise of
But
the people that
the
do that.
number
But we
of-
have committed pieces to come back that they felt could
Could
come back
sustain, okay,
right away.
okay.
But the number of valuable pieces, possessions, is it over 2,000?
That are inventoried?
Yeah.
Oh, every piece of whatever was up there was inventoried.
I know,
Whether
but
it was
I
a
mean-
piece of silver
Or
or a
yeah.
very valuable piece of art. The most distressed pieces were taken
But as
out.
you not being the expert, you don't know, right?
Right,
You want to take a guess?
at the number of pieces that were inventoried.
Yeah.
We archived a
And
lot
how much
of paper
of
and
that has
writings.
been removed?
About 28 pieces were removed.
That's all.
The most, and some were repositioned through the mansion, some were moved into the pavilion. Some were, if they were in need of repair, were taken out. And some were taken out preventively till we fixed the structure. But my recollection is about 28 of the most endangered pieces were taken
Was
out.
it mostly art, portraits or paintings?
No, most of the portraits were able to stay. These were other paintings and pieces of, like, a Cassoni was taken out that needed to be restored and repaired.
Okay. So since you own it, you know, if there's cost overruns, you can always auction something off to pay off the
Yeah.
repairs to the mansion.
I don't perceive that
No?
as happening. I really don't.
Really?
I really don't.
Well, what if you get into it and there's change orders?
We'll work to cover those.
Okay, even if it goes over 3 million?
We always are carrying a contingency over there, I can assure you, for things that we get
Okay,
into
well,
that we
that's
don't
nice-
see.
That's nice to hear. I don't know what the contingency is, but, something tells me, it's, you're gonna have cost overruns, I'm sure.
the scope of the work we've committed to doing.
Yeah.
And I think our pricing is as good as we can get it to right now. Obviously, we're going to have to deal with that at the precise time that occurs.
Okay.
But we've made good on every promise that we've made up there and have done a lot of work
Okay.
already.
Getting any in-kind donations?
For the mansion itself,
Well, you know, people doing work for you. There's
Not that I'm
Staunch,
aware of.
Loyola.
I'm in the operations. They don't let me near donors very often.
Okay. All right.
All right.
How much is the endowment? Come on, Tim. We could probably Google that.
You can.
Well, you don't know what it is?
Not as good as it was a few years ago with the market decline, but
Oh,
500 million,
okay.
a lot of it restricted.
It's okay. All right. You want to go now? You want to?
I would love to go.
Yeah.
I'd love to go back
Yeah.
and see and listen.
Well, you know, I mean, you're a party to this whole
I
thing.
understand.
And I appreciate your, insightfulness.
Thank you.
Okay, does anybody else have any questions for Pulte before we go through this whole drill here?
Yeah, I have several questions.
You can speak up now.
I guess the architecture, I feel like there's a repetition in some of those, and so I'd like to see something a little more unique. I'll show you on your designs here, like you've got all of these gables on these two-story, the white. To me, it cheapens the product of the homes, and would rather either see that eliminated, or say, like you see, this house has got,
What page you on?
I'm on 12, the
Yeah.
brown one, it's got those brown, whatever you call these little peaks, what are those called?
Sure.
Sure. And then you got them on the brick and white.
Are they dormers, any of them?
They're not dormers, they're just pieces of wood.
Dormers at the top.
Okay.
These are-
So, I mean, I guess I look at that and I see the same old, same old, same old. And then I think, okay, so as I go into this development, I'm gonna see, this house looks the same as this house, as this house. I appreciate the ranch. I like that concept. I think that's unique, but I just having a hard time with this looking the same
Sure.
for neighbor to neighbor
Yeah.
to neighbor. I guess I was hoping to see a little bit of copper in some of this work, and I don't see that yet, so you see it here again.
But-
Here it is again.
Mark's going to answer that.
But
Sure,
maybe you're gonna
absolutely.
Well,
tell
you can
me.
answer it right now.
Oh, sure. Well, and
I do appreciate that you've said the key lots have to do, there are more requirements, but then
That's
someone
right.
who's not on a key lot can upgrade to that
Absolutely.
too, which I
Sure.
appreciate
Sure.
where you've come from there, but
Sure.
maybe you can
Yeah.
help explain
Yeah.
your architecture.
And we do have, a relatively brief presentation of maybe 10 minutes where we can go through all these materials. But trustee, just to specifically answer your questions, diversity and variety is very important. And for the purposes of tonight's meeting, which is kind of a preliminary or conceptual presentation of architecture, we are presenting just some of the representative plans. In fact, we presented 4 of the plans, and we'll probably have closer to 9 or 10 total plans. And I want to point out to the board that Pulte is not pulling plans and elevations off the shelf from other communities. We understand the unique history and resource of the Cuneo Mansion and Gardens, the aesthetic attributes, and we want to make sure we are specifically designing our elevations for that framework. So as it relates to variety and diversity, we're going to have 9 or 10 different actual model plans, and then each model plan, trustee, will have probably 4 or 5 different elevations. And then we also offer probably 15, 18, or 20 different color packages. So the ultimate combination of all those different kind of inputs into how a house is designed and how a consumer chooses to have his or her house designed for the Cuneo property probably translates to 800 or 900 different multitudes of combinations of plans, elevations, color packages, and materials. You see here just, a partial example of 3 different brick examples and 4 different stone examples, each with different colors, different textures, et cetera. So variety and diversity is very important, but also it has to be cohesive and harmonious with the mansion and gardens. And we're excited to present what we have so far tonight, and it's been a collaborative effort with your staff. We met with Assistant Village Manager Carey and your building commissioner a few weeks ago, and they didn't really like what we presented, so we kind of went back to the drawing board, and we actually made some additional materials for your review tonight, since the submittal was made on Friday, to look at the different color packages and how contrast can be important too, not only the actual palette, but using different colors to accentuate or highlight different components of the architecture. So diversity and variety is at the top of our list, and this is only the beginning of it, and I can see what you're saying in terms of those 2 elevations.
Right,
They kind of look similar, sure.
Does that mean you'll have built into that system some kind of a matrix to avoid monotony type?
Absolutely, trustee, yeah. In fact, we talked a little bit with staff recently about that. At Pulte, we have our own anti-monotony code to facilitate streetscape diversity, and I know the village has their own anti-monotony code. So that's a great point in terms of variety and streetscape diversity. That's another controlling factor.
The bulk of the front elevations, what kind of architecture would you describe it as?
Sure.
Just
Sure.
craftsman or something?
You know what? It's probably a combination of Euro Country and Craftsman. When we first did our renderings a year and a half ago or so, when we met with the trustees, we got some feedback from the village on the Tudor maybe not being the right fit, and pure Euro Country not being the right fit. So we've asked our own in-house architectural services to put together an architectural style that is rich, that is appropriate, and doesn't try to compete with the mansion. Kind of complementary, but is also very attractive. I mean, we have to sell these homes to homeowners. They want to look at an attractive house. They want to live in an attractive house. So to answer your question, it's kind of an American nomenclature that we've created specifically for the Cuneo property.
Any other trustees have any questions before they do their presentation? Trustee Schultz.
My only concern really is the traffic flow for the mansion and the school itself. Now, granted, Museum Drive, for the most part, is a non-residential through street. But if there's going to be events there where there's going to be an offloading of the premises in a short period of time, do you have any plans to upgrade? Because basically, it is a cross intersection there, and you just have a very narrow drive. We're going to be forcing everybody who's used to entering the museum off of Milwaukee Avenue to go down the Ring and then ring the museum, or go the other way, go north to Greg's, to Lakeview, to Museum. And that's going to require some retraining, I guess, of the populace in general, to be planning on signage to direct people at various locations. We plan on upgrading that intersection so it lines up a little more directly with the street across Museum from it.
Yeah.
And the last question is, has that town home HOA been involved at all? Have they been apprised of this particular layout? I know typically you work with Greg's Landing North, but this is really the townhouse folks, and usually give them a heads.
Well, you gotta notify them for the P and Z.
That's correct. We would notify them as part of
Yeah, and
the
I know
public
what
hearing process.
Trustee Schultz is saying, though, yeah, is there any concerns that they might have, like, right now?
Well, and we certainly, to the extent we're afforded the opportunity to move forward, would want to, before we begin any public meetings, reach out to our future neighbor, do an informational meeting. Absolutely. Absolutely, on that point. As it relates to the traffic flow that will be changed with the residential development and the relocated and improved parking lot, I don't know if, Tim has any thoughts on that on the operational side. Certainly, we want to facilitate as, clear as possible directions in terms of who's going where and for what reasons. For the residential development, this will be a private gated community. So folks will come in, off of Milwaukee Avenue, probably a card key access. We're excited that it's going to be gated. It's something new and different for the village, not for everyone, but can be the right fit for, a lot of people.
A fair piece back from Milwaukee.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
I want you to maintain a certain.
Absolutely. We have to
And
look at
these are all gonna be private streets?
private streets, which is great from a municipal burden standpoint. Built to village standards, of course, though. Absolutely. But we'll continue to work with staff on kind of traffic flow, directional signage, and making sure that both the Mansion and Gardens activities as well as the residential community.
Well, you're probably going to need to reach out to Amley, you're going to need to reach out to
Yeah.
Hawthorne Mall, not Westfield, but Hawthorne Mall now. And you're going to need to work in concert with staff, needless to say. And then also those HOAs, because they're very vocal about their communities up there.
Understood.
So
Being the townhome HOA?
whoever
The townhome.
decides to take jurisdiction here, whether it be the townhome or.
Well, remember, there's Greg's Landing South,
Right.
and there is an umbrella association associated with that, and then each of the pods has their own HOA. So everybody can be involved if we need to do, and the adjacent homeowners will clearly get notice as a part of any public hearing.
And North will probably want to be involved just because of the traffic flow impact.
What's the
Greg,
distance?
family to-
Sure, we'll let them know.
Yeah, of course, I guess what we come right down to it, the Cuneo piece, runs all the way down to Lakeview.
Right.
Yeah, so what's 250 feet within, that radius,
Well, yeah, and especially with the density that we have adjacent to it in Pinehurst and Saddlebrook and those folks, so.
Well,
I mean, remember, Amley is a single owner. It'll be Amley. It's
Right.
it's not an individual
but
ownership.
we had this discussion last week. We're, what, 690 units south of EJ&E?
Yeah, about that, I think.
Out of this, and we were allowed 750?
750, right.
So the real difference here is, what about 60 units?
Yeah, the net coming out of Greg's Landing is 102, I think, that have yet to be built. So, and that's across the entire north and south. 2,100 units total were allowed.
Yeah.
1998 have been built or will be built.
So a total of 102 without any request to the county.
Correct. Well, again, remembering that there's no residential allowed on this.
On the
It's
10
just-
on the 10 acres.
Correct. So,
And so the rest of it is zoned what?
R7 multifamily.
And the museum is just,
It's all part of R7. So,
yeah, okay. Well, R7's not bad. Was that 12 or 14?
14 and a half per
know.
units per acre.
Hell, we could downsize the heck out of this and they have a gang of open space in there. You could do 3-story condos with elevators. Well, all these houses are gonna have to be sprinklered. You know, is that strictly because they're new?
So that's a change in the ordinance that was
Right,
made,
couple,
so.
2-3 years ago, wasn't it?
Yep.
Yeah. And it's, we discussed this afternoon, that's what, you know, you, Cindy and Tom were reached out to, but you were still at school and because all these homes are about, is it exactly 61 feet or some?
Well, the minimum lot size is 61 feet wide. So these are smaller lots than you have at Greg's Landing, and that's to preserve.
What's the depth on them?
The minimum is 117 feet, right?
Minimum?
Minimum.
Well, they're slightly bigger than my neighborhood in Deer Path. Because ours were 65. I don't know, maybe not, but if they're somewhere, a lot of them were 61. But they were all 100 by 65. I mean, unless you were on a cul-de-sac, you know. But my whole street, I mean, I know what it is. I mean, you know. So, okay. All right, anybody else have any questions right now? All right, why don't you do your thing?
Sure, yeah, just take 10 minutes or so. But thanks again, President Byrne and trustees, for giving us the opportunity to present our architecture this evening on the, and we haven't come up with an official name, but single-family residences at the Cuneo Mansion and Gardens.
There's no Italian Renaissance stuff.
There's nothing Italianate Renaissance
So it doesn't,
in our.
doesn't even come close to anything
No.
at the mansion, huh?
No. We've learned a
That
little
might
bit
be,
about
you
it.
know, it might not have been bad, just so long as it wasn't pink, you know?
But I think, as I've said before to each of you, we know that the village looks at a number of things when it considers new development, but one thing is always a constant, and that is ensuring a quality development. And in the almost 2 years that we've been working on this, whether it's the land plan, whether it's the landscaping, whether it's the architecture, we know that the village holds new partners in the community to a high standard, and we're excited to be presenting where we are at this point in the process as it reflects a quality development. I'll just give a few additional.
You know, but I got something. Are you using any, you know, steel in the basements to span the house?
Mike Hausler is our Vice President of Construction.
Yes, sir?
Yes, we as part of the structure in our homes, we do use a variety of different sizes of steel beams to hold up all the floor joists, et cetera.
Okay, because some of these houses are gonna be 33 plus 100 square, you're 3,300 square feet.
500, yeah, not including a finished basement, et cetera, right?
Yeah, so what could be the size of a basement in the, you know, the largest house? Or even in the ranch?
Well, the ranch basement would probably emulate the upstairs. So you're talking about, you know, what, 2,800 square feet, give or take.
Yeah.
Single family size, probably in the 1,500 to 1,800 square feet range. So,
So that you won't have a lot of bounce in the floors?
correct. No, all of our homes are pre-engineered by our engineer, which ties into the certain size of steel that we use, along with the spanning of the floor joists as well.
Okay. All right.
Thanks, Mike. So, you know, just per my cover letter, we know any framework for doing development on the site starts with the respect and sensitivity for the mansion and gardens. You know, many of you have had decades of experience, whether it's driving up and down Milwaukee Avenue and feeling a different experience when you go by the Cuneo Mansion and Garden property versus the dealerships and the retailers, whether it's coming into the community, you know, through the gated entrance, approaching the mansion, et cetera. And we've been very purposeful in trying to preserve as much of that experience as possible while still balancing, you know, all the public benefits that will be generated from this overall partnership. But we know it starts with a respect and sensitivity for the personal experiences in the village of Vernon Hills for community members and the history. A respect for the new architectural ordinance. We know that the intent is to provide a high level of architectural design, and we feel that we are approaching that standard, not necessarily doing it with primarily masonry, a substantial amount of masonry, but also incorporating other details, materials, shake, et cetera. Four-sided architecture, you know, is a given here in the village of Vernon Hills, and staff in particular has been very helpful, encouraging us to continue to push on side and rear elevations. I want to point out for this development, and we talked a little bit about the lot sizes, typical cluster plan where you're preserving open space, and, you know, what we've achieved here is every single lot backs up to open space, so that's a great thing. The side yard setbacks are pretty narrow, and we'll work with staff in terms of, you know, finalizing, the actual
What's the
measurement.
what's the front yard setback?
Front yard, and once again, we're going to work with staff on this as we finalize the product, you know, width and depth, but will be anywhere from 20 to 25 feet. So 25 feet is kind of a typical front yard setback. Keep in mind, we have private roads here. We have a narrow right-of-way. We're trying to pull the fronts of the houses closer to the street. We have a very extended pathway system.
Are you showing those sidewalks in front of the houses?
Chuck, where are we on? No, because of our pathway system. So less asphalt, less concrete, green grass, nicely appointed front elevations, closer to the private roadways. So once again, a different feel, a different character than, you know, the other quality developments throughout the village. But in terms of side elevation exposure, since we're here to talk about architecture, keep in mind, you know, these houses will be more closely set on their sides. And the public view of side elevations won't be the same that it is in more traditional developments. And not that we have anything to hide in terms of our side elevations, but it won't be as viewable and it won't be as much of the experience for folks as, you know, they live in the community or even driving through the community. And we'll also be doing additional foundation landscaping, which will be an important part of the streetscape aesthetic. You have architecture and you have landscaping.
I'm going to go back to the sidewalks. Looking at this drawing on page 5. Okay, the folks down in front of the mansion, Tom, that I know you had concern with those houses down there. Everybody's going to shoe leather express it on the road, right?
Yep. I'm
So
sorry,
this
Mayor, I
is,
was
this
looking
is
at the
like
plan.
so do you see what I'm talking about?
Yes.
So there's no paths there.
Yeah, and Chuck,
I mean,
our
you know,
land
if you,
planner,
you want people walking down the street, you know?
yeah, Chuck, why don't you,
Yeah? Oh, is that your answer?
no, I was
Oh.
saying to Chuck, please
Oh,
come up
okay.
so he can answer, sure. in
Because,
terms of-
you know, we kind of pride ourselves in being highly pedestrian, and we got an extensive pedestrian walkway system in this town. Staff? Don't we emphasize that?
Absolutely we do. With a
Okay.
combination of sidewalks
Now,
and
you
bike
tell
paths.
me why you don't want to have sidewalks in certain areas here. You're the sidewalk guy? Or the
I'm
non-
on the,
No, you're the sidewalk guy.
I'm not, I'm
This is,
part of
I
the,
hope it's not like dealing with Chuck Lamphere. He's special. Anybody know Chuck?
my name's Chuck, is that gonna be a problem?
Well, yeah, it could be. It could be in the next 30 seconds, depending on what you're gonna say.
But, Chuck Hanlon from WBK Engineering and Planning, and regarding the sidewalks, part of the overall design, first of all, it's a private gated community, so the traffic movements will be extremely minimal in the development. So what we're proposing right now, and Pulte has a similar project called Savoy Club that has some of the same front yard setback features with a private road, without sidewalks, and similar features where they're trying to preserve existing mature vegetation behind the homes and throughout other parts of the project. So the lack of sidewalks along the front and parallel to the streets is part of that preservation in terms of clustering everything tighter together. There is an extensive trail system that runs behind the lots and through the park. I don't discount at all what Mayor Byrne is saying in terms of people will use the streets. They will use the streets sometimes to get to the path. They may go out the back of their house, but there certainly would be times when I would expect that they would walk down the streets in order to get to a pathway connection. I can tell you my own observations, and I live in a relatively dense neighborhood in St. Charles, and the street I live on is a residential collector that carries quite a bit of traffic, and it's more of a grid street system, and a public street system that extends. All but the smallest children, they're off the sidewalks, and we don't even have complete sidewalks in the neighborhood. And families with their dogs and everything else, once you get 3 or 4 abreast, you're walking through the development. Even in my neighborhood where there's much more traffic, people walk on the streets all the time. And I think.
Well, that's why God invented sidewalks.
Yeah, I mean, there's, again, it seems once people are on bikes, once they're with their dogs and a few other people, they don't fit on the sidewalk and they comfortably walk down the streets, even in places where it's much busier than this. So I think in this, we could be talking about a different development where I'm not sure we'd be proposing this or we'd feel comfortable with that. But again, with a private gated, limited 128 unit development with an extensive trail system behind the lots and internal park spaces, as well as connections to the regional trail system, which we do have here. So we're tapping into the extensive regional trail system that Vernon Hills has with the development. But internally, you have the ability to use the streets to get to a trail, or use the trail to get back to the street to get to the front of your house versus if you're going into the back of your home. So I think in this particular design, advocating not having the sidewalks in the front on balance with everything else that's an attribute to this project design works well in this development.
Well, if the lots are 117 feet deep,
Yes, yes.
I mean, you're asking for a variance right from Jump Street without, there's no dedicated right-of-way. Okay, I know this is private streets, okay. But, I mean, it's a minimum of 30 feet, I believe, in Deer Path. The houses are set back a minimum.
Your Honor,
And then there's the sidewalk, then there's the parkway, the right-of-way, the actual parkway.
Your Honor, this development would be developed as a PUD, so we'll be able
Well,
to
I'm just
incorporate
saying, I mean, to do sidewalks, so you move the houses back. Okay, I'm gonna tell you right now, I'm gonna say I want it to be a minimum 35 feet back off of the road. That's what I want. Okay, keep going. That wasn't the right answer. So Chuck, you could take a seat.
That's fine,
You're,
just one more point, the connection between the front setback and the ability to preserve trees and have all the lots back up to open space is the compromise there. So if the houses go further back, we'll lose trees and open space behind the lots. It's obviously connected.
okay. The signature guy's here, right?
Yes, he is.
Okay.
So we'll get him up here quick.
Well, he's okay. He did a nice job, but
Yeah.
I'm just saying, I'm sorry, if you got your grandkids over and you want to go for a walk, okay. 128 homes, for the most part, if they do have kids, how many car trips a day does a family of 4 generate? Does staff, anybody on staff know that answer?
6.
We used to know this like the back of our hand.
Family of 4, figure each
2 cars,
2 cars.
yep.
They're going to go out, they're going to come back. They may do that twice a day, go to work, come back.
Oh,
So there's
what
4.
about if you gotta take the kids someplace, pick them up, you gotta go to the store? It ain't 2 trips a day.
No, I'm saying you go to work,
Yeah.
you come back, you might take a trip, drop them off at soccer practice, come back. You have mom and dad
Maybe
doing
you
that.
decide you're not gonna cook, so but you're home, and you're gonna go to Portillo's, and then you come back.
Question,
You forgot something, milk, you gotta go to Mariano's, come on.
128 units, how many do we have within Hawthorne Club?
375, I'll bet.
So there's going to be people who shouldn't be walking on the street. They should be on a sidewalk.
You're gonna have, I mean, I want to say, you know, based on when we really were doing subdivisions, you know, many moons ago, right? I thought it was about 15 a day for a family of 4, in and out, 2 cars. You guys must know this, huh? Come on.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, how many car trips a day?
Right.
Thank you. Well, at least you answered it, you know? All right, 10.
Right.
So that's, you know,
Sure, and then to add to what Peter just said,
well, what if, I mean, you're gonna have people coming in to do work there, right? I mean, you know, the landscapers are coming, right?
so,
Well, you're gonna have a lot more traffic
sure.
than just, you know, 10 per household.
We found that to be pretty realistic and,
Yeah,
and,
okay.
you know,
Okay, yeah, I'm sure.
but another thing I just want to point out on this topic, because it is important and it's in the presentation, we are potting our different.
You know, I don't know if anybody else agrees with me up here, but I mean, there's areas here where they need something
Right?
from a safety standpoint, you know?
Your Honor, the roadway does include traffic calming,
Traffic what?
calming.
Yeah, I
Not
know,
just the
the
curves,
little
but the
island.
straightaways and the islands along the straightaways that will act as a traffic calming mechanism for traffic flowing through the property.
So staff thinks it's okay not to have sidewalks anywhere near.
I'm just indicating that in terms of vehicular traffic,
So it's
There is-
okay to walk on the street and push baby buggies and everything? You don't have any kids yet, do you? You know, come on.
There are a few he's trying to get rid of.
What do you think, chief? Is it gonna kill them to have some sidewalks?
You know, the concern that I would raise is that if you were to add sidewalks, it would add a significant amount to the setback. I think you need about 20, I'm not an engineer, but about 25 feet from the edge of the sidewalk to the edge of the house, just to get your car in the driveway.
Right.
If you have people parking their car in the driveway and you have sidewalks in the same setback they have here, your cars are going to be blocking the sidewalks. People are going to be walking the street to walk around the backs of the cars.
Right, so what are our setbacks like in Deer Park? To get,
Just what the chief said,
well, we must
typically,
be- we must be
typically, if we
35
had,
feet to the sidewalk.
if we had a standard right-of-way and you put the sidewalk 1 foot within the right-of-way, we would like 25 feet because a car may be 25 feet long. You don't want to bump into your garage. You don't want the overhang over the car. So if you have a 25-foot setback from the sidewalk to your car, then you won't have that issue that we're talking about. Then people can walk up and down the sidewalk.
You'd have
Yeah,
to allow
okay,
about
well-
36 inches for the sidewalk, and then how much for a parkway?
The sidewalk's about 4 feet,
4
right?
feet,
Or
okay.
3 feet.
4 feet, 5 feet. In this,
What's
maybe
the-
we would want 4 feet instead of 5 because we're trying to protect some trees. Usually we'd have 5, but we could
Well,
go
I
down
mean,
to
is
4
it-
because
is it-
sidewalks are important.
Is this doable? I mean, is this doable to have sidewalks in there?
I have yet to see any dimension plan other than the cartoon sketch in front of us. I would say that we need to have a more dimension plan so we can figure out what is being proposed in terms, but I think sidewalks are important. We've also discussed as far as Milwaukee Avenue and a connectivity from across the railroad tracks, and we'd like to connect that towards the mall. So I'd like to see some additional pedestrian connectivity that way too.
I mean, off of Milwaukee.
Off of Milwaukee, from point A to point B, whether it's brought into the site and the general public can use it, or if there's room within the state right-of-way, which I'm not sure that there is currently. There's the retaining walls, there's the sluice gate for the pond.
Okay. Well, you know, I guess this is, technically, it's all a technical review. But
Honor,
if we
this-
don't make these statements now, you know,
Your
I
Honor,
don't want to just go forward with this plan without any kind of pedestrian walkway
So I
for
guess,
everybody.
I guess the question is, do you want sidewalks or not?
I do.
Okay, what is the consensus on the board?
Well,
Do we have a
I'm
consensus?
saying you need, I
It-
don't know.
I guess
Hey, John,
that's the
Are you
question.
challenging me on this?
I'm not challenging, what I'm doing is
just-
asking for your direction.
Just thumb me, okay?
Thumb you?
Like that. You know, you're not supposed to,
Up or down?
you know,
Oh.
just thumb.
I'm giving you both. How about both?
No,
I'll
that's
give you
not
10.
good. No, sure, I'll pull the board. Do we think we need any more, sidewalks in there?
Mayor, if I may add just one important input, and if we can do our presentation, I think it would provide for the appropriate additional framework on this topic and maybe some others, but I have page 6 from your submittals up on the screen, and that shows the proposed neighborhood potting. Keep in mind, we have 2 distinct product series that we're proposing, a 2-story, maybe traditional family home style, and that's to the north, and little less than half of those homes of those lots will contain that 2-story, 2,600 to 3,500 square foot, bedrooms upstairs kind of living. And then to the south, we have 70 lots, which will have the ranch residences for downsizers, for people looking for single-story living. Peter mentioned the IDOT standard for the traditional 2-story house, which is right around 10. And actually, for the ranch single-story living type house, the IDOT standard is about 3.5. So please keep in mind that there will be 2 different kind of consumer groups at different stages in their life, most likely, that will, historically it's been shown, have very distinct and unique driving patterns. And actually, that's another benefit of having ranches and 2-story to help mitigate against that traffic flow. So just an additional thought on our discussion on traffic. But what we could do is a very quick presentation, if that's okay, Mayor, and then
You got simulations, like when you go.
Not at all.
When you go to IDOT.
This is very low tech.
There's moving people and there's moving
No,
cars.
not at all, not at all, not at all.
Right, Joe?
So I think with that, I'm going to turn it over to Chuck, and anything else that you want to add in terms of the site plan and as you said, the
Sure you wanna
constraints,
bring
et
Chuck
cetera.
up?
We're going to give him one more shot.
Sure.
Thanks, Mark. I can go back to a question that Trustee Schultz asked earlier and conferred to double-check a couple things with Tim, but regarding the traffic flow for the mansion. So right now, they use the existing historic gate that's in the southern portion of Milwaukee Avenue, which I'm sure you're all familiar. And that's the entrance, so it's really one-way traffic. And then, as you probably well know, they sort of park in a gravel lot that's north of the mansion, and then when people leave, they exit through the northern current access that's there now. So that's the one-way loop that they currently take. With the changes with the plan and relocating the parking to the rear of the mansion near Museum Drive, they will still continue to have the one-way entrance off the southern gate at Milwaukee. Again, stay with the one-way traffic pattern and then only exit out onto Museum. And they kind of know by experience that probably half the people go north and half the people go south at that point. Another change is that they're moving away from the larger venues such as weddings, which will create more of a rush of traffic at a single time, and renovating into classrooms, so that will actually greatly kind of mitigate and spread the traffic out into smaller groups at concentrated times compared to large events. So they'll still have the one-way traffic, they'll still enter where everybody's used to entering, and they would just exit onto Museum, and again, the traffic wouldn't have those high points that you would have in a larger event. So just to circle back to your question on that. Appreciate that, if you could delineate that a little bit better, because, yeah, the roadway is hidden by the tree line. Yes, and this particular rendering is really, it's the existing photograph and trying to be realistic, but there'll be future drawings under technical review that'll certainly delineate the traffic flow much better. So just to point out on a kind of a global sense with the development design in general, it's really pulled in from all of the property lines, from Milwaukee, from the east, from the west property line, and also from the north property line. Again, an effort to save the trees. After studying the trees in greater detail, we've actually made a lot of changes from some very early concept plans that we had prior. Just to point out on Milwaukee, the setback, which from the home to the back of the home to the actual roadways is typically in excess of 200 feet, sometimes closer to 300 feet, with the undulation of the rear yard. And where that comes from, a water main has been installed there that's in an easement that was installed to save the trees. So they didn't want to go through the trees when they put the water main in. So that water main now becomes the demarcation line of which our rear lot lines back up to, which is one of the reasons certainly that we're continuing to save those trees. So the water main actually drew a line in the sand that protected those trees initially. Now we back up to the water main, we have a rear
You mean
yard.
along the railroad tracks?
No, parallel, it's parallel to Milwaukee, but it's actually very angular because it's sort of moving in and out on the outside edge of the existing trees that are there. This is a water main to service the site itself.
Well, it's an existing water main that's there now, but it will service the site. But
It
just
was
point
the
out-
interconnect between Greg's Landing North and going south to River Tree in that area.
Thank you.
So it was pulled in a couple hundred feet, particularly to save the trees. So the idea is that as you drive along Milwaukee, that view really won't change because we're not removing trees in that 200-foot corridor that was already kind of established by the water main installation. So Milwaukee has the greatest setback, obviously, and probably the greatest amount of existing trees to preserve that existing view that you're used to. On the north, there's a significant existing hedgerow on the north, just south of that sort of old county road that really serves as part of the regional trail system. We've pulled in from that as well, and along the west property line, the homes are about 100 feet or so minimum from the rear or from the west property line. There's existing trees there, although there's also some holes in that location where we'll amplify and plant new trees to kind of fill that one in. Out of all of those existing hedgerows, the west line is probably the one that has, in a sense, the most gaps in it that we would plan to infill with new trees to supplement. So again, part of the overall clustering, part of the private road design, part of the narrow front yard, front-to-front home design, part of the lot depth is all about trying to work with the site and preserve as many existing trees as possible. The road pattern, certainly, you could describe it as curvilinear. I might describe it actually more as organic. It certainly takes its shape from first looking at the most important trees and the best trees to save on the property. We mapped those out first and then did a design around those particular trees that were the best ones to save. That's what generated also the large internal open space here. This captured the greatest amount of existing quality trees in that location, as well as other trees behind these lots, which is why you have a larger open space in this particular area. And then certainly from the rear lot lines, a pretty expansive area of trees that are saved south of those southern lots to the mansion itself in that particular location. So again, all really concentrated, pulled in, and clustered in the center, but even internal open spaces within that center area that are designed around the trees. As mentioned, the traffic calming design of the roadway and devices such as the islands, but also the angles and views, the sort of the fork in the road, and how the roadway system was designed to really capture interesting views of existing vegetation as well as what would be proposed to be constructed in terms of the new homes. Mark has already mentioned it, but the narrow side yard setbacks really de-emphasize much of a view to any side yards or any side elevations of homes. As the facades come together with the variety that Mark has also mentioned, your focus will really be on those streetscape and that front facade, and those side yards will, as landscaping matures between the homes, you'll hardly really see those side elevations at all. You'll really be focused on the front facades.
Let me ask this question. Can, like the ranch houses that actually block the view of the museum, all right? Now, if those, if we approve and say, okay, you go to technical review, you got 128 homes, is there any way for those homes to be connected to the to the Loyola property?
Connected from
In other words,
from a walkability standpoint?
these drawings are, they're guesstimates, right? Here, come here, right here. Is that a walkway?
It's not shown, but that is one of those details you see.
But it's a walkway that only goes up and down. It
Well, what
doesn't
I'm saying
connect
is,
anything.
could it connect into Loyola?
So they go,
Is there any connection, pedestrian connection, into the Loyola property?
see, this-
Yeah,
the
yes,
top
this-
is the white line
the
there.
landscape plan on,
Tim?
which might highlight the
Tim?
walking path a little bit better.
But,
This is that.
Yeah.
right,
So-
I know, but I mean, do they gotta walk, you don't want them just walking through the woods.
No, the main,
'Cause, yeah, you got a pathway in there that's pretty good.
right here is an,
Well, I'm just asking these
Yeah.
guys if, I'm actually trying to help in this instance.
no, the answer to the question is yes. This particular axial pathway that's there now would be extended straight into
Oh, I
the park.
see that one. I'm down
And-
here by the ranch.
Yes, this
Where there's
one,
no sidewalks.
yeah, that one's not shown right now, but that certainly
Because
could
you do
be,
show a little
I'll
path,
look at Tim, there's no, I'd be no opposition to connecting that one to the
but
private
you
road
got a
to walk
road
down. That's-
there
yeah.
too, where people are gonna drive in to come into the mansion too, so we have to be cautious of the traffic. But
Yes.
I'm assuming this is a little pathway in this little island, correct?
Which
Yes.
page you on?
I'm on the same page as you. I see this little white line, because I'm looking at, I mean, I'll be honest, these drawings, excuse my language, no, I won't say it. You get the gist of it, but I can't see, I could see some of the pathways here. So I do believe these people can walk there, but I'm looking at this
Yeah, and we,
and trying to feel if there's a way to allow these people to walk through
the
pathways there.
the answer is yes.
The answer is yes.
Yes, we can highlight these trails will be,
Right.
on
You-
the next submittal, you'll see
So
all
what
this a
you're
lot
telling me
better.
is
yes.
rather than sidewalks, there are walking trails, so that these people who live in these one-level homes will be able to access those trails. Because right
Yes.
now, all they can do is walk up and down this one. There's no way to get to another,
No,
unless I'm not seeing something.
we'll delineate and highlight the trail network. This is obviously a concept we're beginning, but
Look, I mean,
Yeah,
here,
that's what I'm talking
what are
about.
just showing trees? There's nothing
You
running down.
can't see it here though, but there's a little white line.
Well, I know,
Yeah.
I got one. Over here, look at this bigger drawing, you know? There's no walkway between those
No, there
trees.
is one there.
yeah, we'll work with staff in the next submittal. We'll certainly isolate
But
a clear
we are-
trail system for you.
These people don't really have anywhere to walk to, other than on the street. So we need to figure out a way to
Yes,
allow them to access these paths, whether they go around here. I know you've got a water line here or whatever, and
Right.
I appreciate your preservation of trees. But I'll
Yeah,
also
okay.
tell you one more point. I can just hear it when this is built, and there are kids in here, they're gonna come to us and say, where's the park? Where do my kids go to play at the park? And is there a park in here?
Yes, and I don't want to steal
Oh, I see.
Greg's thunder. Greg is the
See,
next
I'm
speaker. and
sorry.
yeah, he'll
I
delineate,
do
but
see-
there is a park here specifically
Because I
for
could
kids
just
and everything,
hear
yes.
it. I could just hear people coming and say, I have no place to take
But
my
the-
kids to go on the swings.
the
'Cause
trails will-
There will be families that move in here, there's
Yes.
no doubt about it.
The trails will connect and circulate all the way through to your points, and we'll delineate that so you can clearly see it. One of the unique aspects about any resident that would move into this development is full access to walk around the Cuneo Gardens.
Exactly.
And,
Well,
and,
sure.
and the south lawn and the whole
I
property,
mean, there's
so.
beautiful things there to
Yes.
walk through.
So it'll be, from that perspective, it'll be one of the more
Now,
walkable.
in winter, they won't be able to, because is your association going to plow those pathways? Of course not. So they're gonna walk the street.
You know, I've walked in the gardens with some not, just
Well,
some normal winter boots,
we-
and
we gotta
it's
see-
kind of neat to be out there in the
No, I
snow
know,
too
but
as well,
they're
yeah.
not gonna-
So, snow and,
That's commendable.
but,
You know, that's commendable. I'm
it's nice
proud
out
of you.
there. I'm,
See,
Well,
when you
snowshoes
boys
suck.
are gone, then who do the residents come to?
To us.
Hello,
right.
anybody want to answer that?
Well, they'll call Pulte.
Oh, they will. 5 years after you're done?
Once-
Oh, okay.
Wait a minute.
Yeah, okay,
That's after we tell them to call you.
yeah.
Trust me, I've been up here, this is not my first rodeo. They wouldn't call you till after we told them to call you.
Yeah,
They would call us first.
trust me.
Trust me.
Yeah,
Been there, done that.
okay.
I
Well,
think I've made the points I was going to make on this plan, and I'll introduce Greg Sagan to go through the landscape plan for you, so, but happy to answer any other questions, okay?
Good job, Chuck.
You did okay.
So Greg will give a brief overview of the landscape plan, and then Mike Hausler, who spoke briefly as our VP of Construction, he'll go over the elevations. And Trustee, you talked about phone calls in there, and I began this presentation talking about quality, and it's inherent construction quality, but it's also quality as perceived by the home buyer.
Are you going to be the management company for the association?
No, we
Or
will
is there
hire
being
a
a so-
professional management
Some
company
some
to
third
manage
party.
the homeowners association.
Third party
Correct.
that'll insulate the homeowners from you?
Well, no, but what I want to point out is J.D. Powers, probably everyone's familiar with it. They do polling of people who bought products or services, so it's not biased, it's very objective. In the last year that J.D. Power ranked home builders in the Chicagoland area, Pulte ranked first with those homeowners in terms of quality of workmanship and materials and overall customer satisfaction. So we ranked higher than any other builder in the Chicagoland area, and I think that's a reflection of our commitment to customer satisfaction and just relating to quality. So I wanted to just point out that we think that that's a strong suit of ours. We've been in business 70 years, here in Chicago for over 50 years. Our reputation is everything. Our municipal reputation is everything, and we'd encourage you to talk to any of your municipal counterparts in other villages or cities about our track record long-term. I get it, not just during the build-out when you're selling houses, but 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years afterwards. So
Well, not every community you build is a private,
no,
gated community.
no. Some of them are. Some of our Del Webbs are.
So do those
Yep.
people still call you 5 years later?
I'm sure they will, because they've got our email addresses, and they know we're the easy contact person initially. I'm going to turn it over to Mike, and he'll go over the.
State statute.
or I'm sorry, Brett.
Is it a 10-year warranty?
Good evening. My name is Greg Sagan. I'm a registered landscape architect and president of Signature Design Group with offices in Naperville, and we're pleased to be the landscape architects on this very exciting project. Tonight, the focus is architecture, so my presentation is going to be very brief and just talking about a few things and how the site plan integrates and how it affects the architecture and the product you're going to be looking at. But a couple questions were raised, so at this point, I might as well just talk to those real briefly. One, walkability, and Chuck and I agree with the trustee, walkability is going to be very important in this development. We've already have the framework of the internal trail system, which will get you to the mansion, to the gardens, to the Central Park corridor, and then we also envision that radiating out through the common areas into the site. How that ties into the streetscape, and I'm not going to design that up here with you. You raised some very valid points about street sidewalks. I will say, though, that I was the one in the back of the room pushing Chuck to save trees, save trees. We looked at these trees, we know them very intimately. So there is, through the PUD process, there's going to be a lot of trade-off here. This isn't going to be maybe just a standard design where everything is a uniform network or something. There may be some unique items, there may be some compromises. Throwing out in areas, there may be sidewalks just on one side of the road and may be narrower. It may be a carriage walk because we have quality trees behind, but we recognize the importance and some of the concerns. So I just wanted to venture that unlike a cornfield development, this is going to be a very unique site that we take great pride and passion in designing. So you understand just in the process that, our team can't commit and say, well, fine, we'll do all of that, because there may be some ramifications at the end of the day we don't want. But the park, there is a central park site, as the trustee requested. It's going to be mixed open lawn area with existing tree grows that we're preserving, a trail system and network that radiates out to many of the adjacent community or home areas, and there will be a central park site playground area right here where the cursor is, which will have an adventure playground, play equipment with a nature theme, logs, log tunnels, manufactured playground equipment, though, that has a natural theme to it. We think will be very much in keeping with this. Children really enjoy, and it'll be a very attractive amenity for children, grandchildren, and visitors to the development. So that on an aside to get into just the real brief presentation. What I just wanted to bring out is some items to consider as you evaluate the product and the architecture that Mike's going to show you here in just a minute on how that is in the context of this site. You know, you visualize it in another traditional subdivision and it may have one feel. You incorporate it into this site where it's going to be a very, as Chuck said, very organic, very curvilinear. Most of the lots on this site are going to be tucked into the woods, existing woods or recreated woods. So the views to the rears of these houses, to the sides, will be very limited. You're going to have a very confined feel in and around these little groves and these little pockets of residences that we are creating. Secondly, the site design provides for buffers in and around the community. Chuck mentioned very important to this development is preserving this very wide, several hundred-acre wide buffer along Milwaukee Avenue. So the character of the site, and you'll hear me talk about character tonight and in other subsequent presentations, is going to be very important to us. And the one thing that defines the character of the site are the trees we're preserving out there. So we're going to great strides to preserve the perimeter buffers and internally the quality trees. Now that said, I will point out, we just had an ice storm, and Tim called me this past winter. Very heavy, wet snow, ice storm and snow. A lot of these trees on the site are old Norway maples, things planted by Jens Jensen at the beginning of the century, 1900s. They're starting to reach their mature age, they're starting to get brittle. So there are going to be opportunities and a need within the site to remove certain groves of existing trees or trees that have lived their useful life and are starting to decline. Those are the development opportunities we have and or the opportunities to replant those areas because we want to ensure that this canopy and the feel of the mansion is preserved. So those are the type of things that are unique to this site in guiding the development of this site and things that we are very careful in working around.
What's your first name?
My first name is Greg.
Greg. What's the total number of ash trees out there?
Most of them have died. There's probably only 50 or 60 ash trees remaining on the site. Most of those are heavily infested with emerald ash borer and would be removed.
That'd be good.
Okay. Yes, I think everybody would be in agreement with that.
What is the majority of the trees that are there? What type of trees?
The highest majority of trees are trees that were planted in groves by Jens Jensen. That would be Norway maples, Norway spruce, and Doug firs are the predominant three trees in canopies on the site. And as you look out, excuse me, from the mansion looking north, you have these wonderful, almost cathedral-like 60, 70-foot tall evergreens that you look under. Those are all groves planted by Jens Jensen in the early 1900s. Those are primarily Norway spruce or Doug firs. Those are the type of trees that we're going to work very hard in preserving a vast majority of them because those do define the character of the site. There are other areas on site, though, that are closed canopy. You look at it, they're woods, but they're silver maple, they're box elder, there's ash. They're undesirable trees.
Well, yeah, I mean, how far did, Jensen go with where the houses were? I mean, what kind of plantings did they do there? The old homes?
Yeah, no, and
Places that have got to be, raised.
to your point, his influence, Jensen's influence on the site is primarily around the mansion,
Right.
still the existing groves, but there is an existing grove of Norway spruce along the EJ&E tracks on our site, and that's one that we've worked, and I've had Chuck redesign those lots, having to push the houses forward, actually, so we can preserve a line of existing spruce in this area, because it creates a nice
But
buffer.
is the road coming out?
The road is staying in and being repurposed, if you will, as a trail. So it'll be part of our trail system along the EJ&E.
So the trees are south of the road?
That's correct, yes, they're south of the road.
Is there anything north of the road? before you
Scrub
hit-
vegetation associated with the railroad, a few maples that were planted, but nothing of
So you're
substance.
going to repurpose the street. So what does that mean? You're going to turn it into like a 8-foot wide path?
Yes, yeah, be a continuation of the trail, and I don't want to speak out of turn from Chuck, but it'll be a continuation of
So
the trail
that's
that
not
comes out.
shown on any of these drawings?
It is shown on this drawing, yes.
Where?
Along the north edge where my cursor is.
Well, I know where it's at. It doesn't, is it going to serpentine a little? and,
No, no, that one stays,
It'll just be a straight, but you're going to cut half the road off.
Mayor, if you look on the plan where my cursor is now, we have a trail that comes out and connects to it here, and another trail spur that comes out of our development and connects to it here.
Yeah.
So we are interconnecting our development to this regional trail system also. So
But
internal,
again, you know, if you, what's the width of that road now?
10 feet-ish.
Oh, no, it's
maybe,
gotta
yeah.
be more than that.
It's in the 12-foot range. It needs to be maintained because the Lake County Public Works water main's there, and so they are proposing to keep that linear. I think that's a good idea. He's showing that he is connecting it, and I think he's spot on as far as some of the trees and the age of those trees and the condition of the trees. I'm agreeing with what he's saying.
Would they do a select cut in the, I mean, sometimes you can have an overgrowth. You do a select cut and pick from the trees so the big ones grow.
a fitting out, if you will, kind of forestry management. I mean, some areas that would be appropriate, and we'll look at that as part of the comprehensive program.
Call the Sawyer, huh?
Call a Sawyer, yeah.
Well, your tree preservation and the fact that
I have some.
all the backyards are open is a real selling point for me on this whole, the way.
As Mark mentioned, all the homes, I believe every one of them back to open space.
Yeah.
Now, they're not all wooded open spaces.
No.
Some of them
No,
are
no.
open spaces, some of them we're recreating,
I
we're
understand,
replanting.
But it makes it a real.
It's a
unique
huge
sort of
amenity.
layout.
It's a
Yeah.
huge amenity for this development, one that makes it very
You
unique.
guys plan on planting any trees out there?
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, there's opportunities here. Because of the age, Mayor, of these, we need to plan for the next generation. So even some of these wooded, right in front of the mansion, there's a grove of old Norway maples that are just tired and they're long outlived their useful life. So we need to start.
Talk about Milwaukee Avenue, like, there seems to be a lot of scrub there, and are you gonna clean out some of
I mean,
that?
that's an area where there's quite a few ash that have died or are
Died.
dying.
You'll have to-
There is some scrub in there, but there's also Jensen incorporated some buckeyes in there.
Okay.
There are some things, some oaks that he planted little pockets in there. Not exclusively the entire thing. Most of it is native, naturalized vegetation. But there are those opportunities in there that we're going to
Particularly
preserve.
some of that out and puts, okay.
But also then replanting and adding
Right,
more.
adding more,
Yeah.
okay.
Any other
Okay.
questions for Greg here? No?
The only only
okay.
concern I have is where you've got these homes that are right by the mansion, to make sure that we somehow connect the pathways there.
Okay, right
'Cause
here.
I don't see that right now.
Yes. No, I
That would-
think Chuck and I hear that loud and clear,
Okay.
and we would not argue that at all.
Okay.
So, the last slide that I'll speak to, and then I'll turn it over to Mike Hausler, because the purpose is the product and the architecture, is the key lot plan. And what this does is this is another layer of review on our part and working with staff on identifying those lots. You know, we feel is going to be a quality development, everything back to open space, et cetera. But there are opportunities where these lots, either back to the mansion, side to the mansion, in our entrance area along the entrance drive, where we want to make sure that the architecture and the product itself is enhanced. So these key lots, and there's 44 of them, are identified to have upgraded architecture, either on the sides or the rears for that specific purpose. So during the wintertime, leaves drop, you start getting filtered views of these homes. They have an extra level of architecture.
Which is what's on page 7?
That's on page 7, that's correct, Mayor. The pink lines are the backyard enhancements, the yellow lines are the side yard. And you'll see them basically enclosing the mansion, and then at the main entrance areas, and then following the trail corridors. Okay, and Mike will take over next, he'll speak to architecture, and he can show you what those enhancements and upgrades are.
But, you know, in essence, yeah, it's fine, we can let them come up. I just, you know, ask the board, I mean, we're going along here, but, you know, is anybody got a problem with the 128 homes? Trustee Cook?
We did originally.
I'm still not sold on that last little south piece, but the total of 128, the way it's now laid out and with the preservation of the land and that, I'm not as bothered by it as I originally was.
So what was when you say the last
Just that,
piece?
the small piece that was tagged on to the south.
Oh, these
from the
two?
front, yeah.
These two?
Yeah,
Yes.
just this little
Yeah, just
section
that
here,
little
but,
But not these?
but it, well, yeah, it would be this whole section, here, but, I mean,
Well,
that's
that's what, about 28 homes?
No.
Yeah. 21 or 22, but with the addition, with the talk of the addition of landscaping and that along Milwaukee.
Referring to down here?
Yeah, yeah, that last little pod.
23.
Roughly 10 to 12 homes down there.
There's 23 in there when I count.
It was
No,
more
it's
like
more than
20-something, yeah.
Oh,
because
yeah.
It's down in this whole leg, I'm sorry.
Yeah, yeah.
Little
Yeah, yeah.
leg here and this part here, yeah. This little circle here.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, right.
Now,
So what is it, 23, 24?
I had 23 if I counted to that
Yeah.
one.
Okay, so nobody's got a problem with the 128,
Yeah, I got 23.
right? Anybody?
no, that was my concern
no,
before.
not
was
really.
that-
My main concerns were assuaded with the additional guarantees with regard to the mansion and that, and the changes in some of the landscaping and that.
Well, the other issue is you made those 23 homes 1-story and not 2-story.
Those are all
Yeah,
ranch.
and yeah.
Those are all
that-
ranch, so
That was
that,
another,
that's
yeah, that
another
was another
piece
change
that I
that made it,
appreciate.
yeah.
These are all ranches.
Those
Okay.
are ranch, so they're not 2 stories.
Is
Yeah.
everybody happy with the architecture all the way around the house? The sides and the backs? Because I pointed out this afternoon, if you look at a lot of these, there's no door facing out to the backyard.
I saw that
There's no
too, and I-
sliders.
Right.
There's a lot of homes,
They
they're gonna
don't-
have just just a door, just opens up.
So to your point, Mr. Mayor, right, in this rear elevation right here, we've got a little concrete stoop.
What are we on, 8 now?
Yeah.
Page 8, please.
Yeah. Right, you don't have a,
So here, let me just start off with the front elevations, if you don't mind. I'll kind of walk through this. So as Mark indicated, we're gonna have we're gonna be showing you 2 single-family homes, 2-story, and then 2 ranch plans, as we walk through this. Up in front of us here, we have the Wildwood, model. It is our standard elevation, therefore you can upgrade from here moving forward. As you can see, we tried to add some dramatic roof pitches, hip and gable, different elements to the whole roof line, roof massing. As you walk through up to the front door, you see a high arched volume entry. In this particular elevation, it's stone. There's other accent elements on the front of the elevation. It's kind of hard to see here, but I think someone mentioned copper roofs or metal roofs earlier. There's an element of metal roof right here.
I saw that, so
okay.
that, but that's incorporated into the woodwork. So can you change that and embellish on that one and make it different? As an accent, as a possibility, or?
It's possible. I think with the architecture that we set out to try to present here, the metal roof complements, is what some architects really tell you. Excuse me. Is there any feedback on that? Did you want to see asphalt shingles or? No?
Well,
Or, I mean,
architectural, with
look
the
at-
architectural relief,
Are you looking at carp,
you know, I mean, we're kind of,
simulate carp?
gives it a little shake look.
There's a little look here.
Or you talk about offered shake roofs.
No, we're not talking about offering cedar shake roofs. No.
You think it's any imitation of that?
What we had planned on doing is some level of architectural series shingle, which offers a little depth. I'm sorry.
No, I
didn't know if I was understanding you
Which
correctly.
is perfectly
but
fine.
versus a standard 3-tab shingle, right? So, that's,
Are these the 3T?
now, in this location right here, are you appreciative of the?
No, I am. I just
Okay.
wonder if there's a better way of making that stand out just a little. Maybe it will stand out more when I see the definition of things. I know it's hard in a photo.
Yeah, and then
You'll
I'll tell
see
you,
that.
these renderings are not color matched, to be, to be truthful. You see our color packages
Right.
out here. There's a lot of contrast. That wood siding relative to the metal roofing would stand, there'd be a contrast there. That's why I wanted to point it out. It's hard to see. I didn't see it the first time.
So we'll rule out slate too, right?
No chance.
No chance.
I appreciate your humor.
Hey, you know,
Hey,
within
you know what?
reason.
We gotta have a little fun here, right?
Yeah, well, you know, yeah, once in a while.
Yeah, I'm with you. Just again, some really nice architectural features on the front elevations, et cetera. So as you move over to the right side of the page, Down that middle column, you've got this left elevation, rear elevation, and the right side elevation. Those are all the standard lots, right? And over to the right, you've got the key lot components and different architectural elements that we've tried to differentiate the standard lots from the key lots. As you'll see here, prime example, right, in the rear, per the mayor's, point, we do have a nice full glass door in the back. It does not come out the back like in these 3 windows area, but if you go over to the key lots, same door. However, we do have some additional architectural elements that protrude away from the upstairs and add a little bit more brick and siding combination and roof elements there too. Again,
Well,
that's
I
the
guess,
key lot.
we're not sitting here with a true floor plan for each one of these.
Correct, sir. Yeah.
Well, but I mean, to show, is there any of the renderings we have here, or the stick drawings, whatever you want to call them, that show sliding glass doors on anything?
We'll get to
Back of the
that.
house?
Yeah, we'll get
Well,
to that.
I thought we did get to it this
Yeah,
afternoon.
and I'm just, for the group, for the benefit of the group, let me flip over here. So, and I'll come back to that, Roger, here in a second. That said, this is the same plan, same elevation, but it also offers different materials, i.e. brick versus stone, and different color packages. So, but we'll get to your point here. If you,
Looks a little plain.
well, let's cut to the chase here.
That's the,
So how do I get out to the backyard on this ranch? Go back one. How do I get out to the backyard on that ranch one that,
I'm sorry.
how do I get out there? Where's the, how do I get out?
you don't.
I don't,
In here.
right?
Well, the
I don't-
drawings,
I
that,
don't see it.
I'm sorry, to the
Page
mayor's
10?
point earlier.
You're on 10?
Yes,
Yeah, just
10 and 11.
not showing anything.
There's no door to go out to my backyard,
Unless it's coming out.
unless it's coming off the side, unless you're coming off the side.
I think so, trustee.
Yeah.
Think it's coming off the side?
Yeah, like the other elevation, and maybe that's just these floor plans, Mayor, versus the other floor
They
plans.
Well, these
that-
aren't floor plans.
Well,
No,
I
these are-
should say reflective of
so they're-
these
must be the
floor
si-
plans.
okay.
Yeah, on this particular ranch, it appears that there is a center recessed area in the rear elevation. And, there's depth to the two
Yeah,
kind of wings on
So there may be a
either
door.
side.
There's doors, yeah.
I see
Right,
what you're
right,
saying, okay.
right. So it's basically a side entry door onto
go
a
out to the
patio.
back,
You know,
okay.
that's all that, it's just not visible. These are two-dimensional, these are not three-dimensional.
Right.
And you're absolutely right, next
So
time-
we're to, like, again, I'm looking at Trenton model, okay? The rear elevations. So basically, can you just, what rooms are these in the house? And so the homeowner, if you want sliding doors, he's just got to blow out the
Typically, it's
windows?
a living room and/or
And
master
a-
bedroom that are protruding out, right?
In the back?
Right? 'cause you
Back
probably
of the house?
Yeah.
Okay.
Master on the.
So what's, like, for example, on standard lot,
So it could be like-
key lot, okay? Rear. So where would you put a slider on that model? They have, well, you're not even on the, what page are you on now?
I'm on 11, sir.
He's on 11.
I'm on 10, here, right here.
Same one, just
Same
different
one.
colors.
Okay, so where would you, if somebody wanted a nice,
Yeah.
to take in the ambience of the backyard?
So you'd either, depending on the depth, we'd either have a small slider here, or depending on the overall layout, you could have something along here. That is a covered patio before. If you remember, Mayor, earlier, when we talked, there was a covered porch, and then we did have a slider on one of our rear elevations as well, so.
Which is that on here?
To be honest with you, I'm not seeing it
Okay.
on this
No.
one.
Right.
on this presentation. You did see it in the paper, So if there's some level of incorporation of sliding glass doors that we'd like to see in here, depending on overall plan layout, we can definitely work that in.
And in all this, the architecture we're looking at was done by someone in-house at Pulte.
Yes, sir.
Is a rear access anything in terms of fire code or that? And,
Yes, sir. We do have to have a means of egress. There are doors, they're just hidden back on.
yes,
on the
but there has to
back.
be some sort of ingress and egress on the rear elevation.
You're correct, sir.
Okay,
There are.
that's what I thought.
That's required.
Yeah.
And not only, it's
Yeah,
what we
that's
want to
what I
offer our homeowners
Thank you.
as well. So.
I would guess the bottom line is most people don't want a big access and view out the back. I haven't seen a house forever, since I lived in the city, on a 25-foot wide lot that didn't have some kind of French doors or sliders or whatever that led out to a deck or a patio at the very least. So you may want to get back to your marketing people and say, okay, what do people want, and make sure that you get that included.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you're gonna have such a nice setting,
Right.
Yeah.
They're gonna want
no,
decks.
I mean,
Yeah, they're gonna want aftermarket decks.
That and paper
Indoor
patios
patios
and
or
stuff like that.
whatever,
So, absolutely. We enjoy the feedback, no question. We'll try to incorporate some of that stuff in
You
our
also
overall.
talked about bay windows or bowed windows on some of these in one of the letters that I read. Is that not a feature?
There are a set of structural options, per
Okay,
se,
so
that
there are-
we plan on offering once we solidify our product lineup
Okay.
and we have an understanding of what the architectural elements are going to be, that we can start to offer and plug on to the standard sides and rears, if you will, so. Yes,
Can you
ma'am.
make some of those standard?
At this point in time, we're, with these two protrusions, if you will, and the covered patio, we're considering that to be somewhat of a bay. Now, you can add like a little 2-3 foot angle bay here, something we can definitely consider.
were you saying the covered patio, how far does the roof detail come out over that?
If I'm correct, I believe it's roughly 8 to 10 feet. So it does offer you a bit of covered area, which this type of demographic really likes. And quite frankly, to be honest with you, I lived in a house very similar to this. I loved it, personally.
Never had a nice sliding glass door in your house?
I had a sliding glass door and I also had a swing door.
So what did you prefer?
You know what, to be honest with you, I've learned to like both because, the plans that I had drawn up were quite frankly, custom to my tasting, and you can only fit certain doors in certain locations, so.
Yeah, okay. All right.
Can I ask about materials once?
Yes, sir.
Above the garage door, what is that? Is that siding?
I'm sorry, on this elevation?
Yeah.
Page 10. Yeah, that would be like an LP smart siding, LP trim smart board, if you will.
And then to the right of that, there's a little roof there, and then above that, what's that material?
I'm sorry, on the face of this,
Yeah, you've got like two A's
Why
there.
don't you bring up a sample?
You see the two A's?
Go
To
to
the
this-
right of the first A.
above the
Above the-
front door?
yeah,
This is
there's-
all shake, that's all shake siding there. So for
So it's
example,
the
So it is a,
regular siding, the roof, and shake siding?
they're trying to.
Cement boards.
Okay.
here's a sample of some of our siding, trim board, as well as shake siding.
Well, sure, it's
It's a variety of different colors, as you can see.
Okay.
or,
All right, just wanted to see what it was.
Those are any of the concrete products?
Well,
These are all cementation
there's
products.
great
Yeah, okay.
difference on that.
So you've got.
Is that straight across the board on the seats? It's all cement products?
Well, yes, yes.
Is it? Okay. All right. Does staff have any questions?
I've got one question regarding construction. The EJ&E, right now, I believe it's still only 2 trains a day
run on that, and they run like at 2 in the morning and 4 in the morning. But that doesn't mean that there'll be a different pattern. And I know that we've had some complaints from the Greg's Landing folks when those trains came through and they weren't aware and blah, blah, blah. So I guess my point being is, I'm assuming you got 2x6 construction here?
No, sir, we're going with 2x4 construction.
Okay, all right.
Now, there are certain things that we've done in the past to mitigate our sound transmission. With double-layer drywall, our seat channel, things like that.
Right.
In Glenview, to be very.
And I would suggest that potentially on those, whatever, 15, 20 homes that back up to the tracks, that become a standard. And then that also be something that's offered along with upgraded window packages to mitigate noise transmission. Just because you're up against the tracks and they're paying a big buck to live in this gated community.
No, point well taken, and part of our other package did include an upgraded window, to your point, so you're spot on.
And I guess to go back, the mayor asked earlier about sidewalks and setbacks. 25 feet is awful close. We as a society are retaining too much junk, and that's just a blanket statement I'm making. I personally, I get 2 cars in my garage, and I don't park anything on the driveway. I believe that I am in the minority. More people have more junk in their garage than they have parking places. With that being said, 25 feet is awful close, especially if you're in the winter and you've got the plow coming through and he's going to try and operate at 15, 20 miles an hour, especially if he's using the equivalent of a deuce and a half or whatever. He'd be throwing snow 10, 15 feet, well, a good 10 feet at least. That's not going to make for a happy homeowner with only a 25-foot setback. I really like the 35-foot. Now, that does give us an opportunity potentially for some sidewalks. I can go either way on the sidewalks. I look at this community as being a little piece of Hawthorne Woods, a little piece of Long Grove buried in Vernon Hills, where there are no sidewalks in those communities. People do, in fact, utilize the roadways. I understand the traffic counts that people are trying to generate, the 1,000 trips a day through this community. I don't know. Personally, I like sidewalks, but then again, this is a little smaller community, kind of, but I do like the idea of a 35-foot setback from the curb. And I'm assuming there will be curbs and sewers here on the streets?
Yes.
And your streets will be built to the village standard? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Please acknowledge for the minutes that the gentleman in the back row is nodding vigorously in affirmative. Thank you.
Trustee, okay, go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, after you, sir.
Trustee Markwart had his light on.
As I would agree with you, Jim, on that, the one thing is without sidewalks, one of the things that hasn't been brought up are there streetlights? And I don't believe there are. There are no streetlights, am I correct? You're saying at intersection, but that's one of the points too. With you having no sidewalks and you're walking on the street, at nighttime, a car light is what's going to see an individual, not the street lights. So that's another point that is a safety aspect.
Anybody want to speak to that?
We can certainly discuss it further, with staff. There are certainly lots of neighborhoods in close proximity to the Vernon Hills area. I live in one that, doesn't have sidewalks, doesn't have street lights. It lets you see the stars. It gives you a different feel. We would never compromise health and safety, absolutely, but there are lots of practical, workable experiences out there without sidewalks and streetlights other than at, main intersections.
So there'll be like nice lights on every garage that'll stay on until, you can't you know,
No,
you can't dictate that.
Well,
The guy flips.
We have done that in the past with photo cells on houses to help illuminate.
Well, I'm just asking though, but I mean, if they want to turn it off, they could turn it off.
Sure they could.
Well, NCT, where my daughter's at, they're mandated, I don't know where it's wired to. I think it's wired directly into the panel, but her light's on 24/7, and every fixture has a photo sensor. And she was trying to use some energy conserving bulbs that didn't match up with the photo sensor, and so her light was flickering, so she got the dear deadbeat notice from the HOA to go back to incandescent. But all those in through that area there, they're mandated, they're wired in so that they're on whenever it's dark enough.
And our HOA management company has sent out notices, to your point, hey, uncover your photo cell or switch out your bulbs or whatever, because that is part of the ambiance and safety of the community. So.
Yeah, and those,
Well, you know-
no, those do work quite well as, in lieu of a street light. I mean, because
Yeah.
you're correct, that's the kind we live with, and it's on all night, and the way this is laid out wouldn't be a problem, I don't think.
And being a little closer to the back of the curb also helps too.
Right.
But, you know, how about in the pathway systems, are you gonna have any kind of lighting in there?
You know, I don't,
We got the nice ballards, you know, off of Sullivan, that was
I don't know the
You
answer
don't
to
know?
that. I don't know the answer to that at this point in time.
but I mean, you know,
Yeah,
I mean, if,
that-
you know, it gets dark at about 4:20, you know, on December 21st, you know, or thereabouts.
Good point.
So, okay.
So moving on with the presentation on page 16. This is a
I
sample.
thought this whole presentation was 10 minutes long.
A lot of great questions, right?
That probably would have been right.
So just a sampling of our interior fit and finishes from homes that we've built here very locally and actual models that we've presented. Same thing here, some more interior photos, level of fit and finish that we take a lot of pride in and delivering to our customers. And then last but not least, exterior colors and packages that we kind of talked about throughout the entire presentation. This rendering, if you will, helps to show the relationship between the brick, the siding, the shutters, the roofing, et cetera, on the presentation. And then you can also see the live samples here in the front row as well. So, again, just sampling.
Average cost of a home?
I think we're looking at the mid-sixes.
Sure, I can answer that. For the two-story homes, base pricing right now is probably our least expensive plan is like at $590. We expect no one in the full extent of the base housing to go into the low to mid 600s. So with options, these will be high 600s, well into the 700s. And then for the ranch plans, which are a little smaller, 2,300 to 3,300 square feet. There is an optional second floor living space, trustee, because I know you had said ranch homes, and I know in the materials we said optional second floor space, so just want to make that clear. But on pricing there, I think we're base pricing in the mid to high 500s. Option pricing, particularly with this consumer, well into the 600s and 700s. And given some of the lot premiums that are right up against the mansion and gardens, you know, could even be higher than that. We expect to offer a variety of optional upgrades, finished basements, et cetera. So this is going to be a luxury, upscale, high-class community.
Speaking about the lot prices, what is the distance to the railroad track from those homes on the north end? It doesn't look like it's more than...
There's a decent buffer. I'm going to turn to Chuck and Adam, or I don't know if our engineer, Bill, who's in the back with the glasses, can read a plan.
I mean, at least I appreciate the fact that you put the fact that the EJ&E exists there.
Oh, absolutely.
I have seen drawings that stop short of the EJ&E.
Well, and for, you know, if we ever reach the point, sales and marketing, yeah, full disclosure and, you know,
No, but believe me, I appreciate that because
disclosure agreements, all those things are a critical part of setting the right expectation.
Yeah, it's gotta be as basic as it's a train track behind
You
your
got
house.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
trains run on it.
Right.
Well, it does, I mean, how we did those, you know, letters of awareness with everything in Greg's Landing, it's working out nice.
Disclosure, yep.
You know.
To Mark's point and to your point, Mr. Mayor, is we try to go overboard with setting proper expectations, i.e. disclosures, communication with homeowners, because
Right.
at the end of the day, we get the phone calls. I know you might get a few of them, but there are customers for life, if you will, and we take that very seriously.
Tom will give the speech about truth in the trailer.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm, this is, I appreciate this. you know.
Question, we did a rough calculation,
What are you guys doing with the
About
water
100?
tower?
about 200 feet from the back of the house to the railroad track, about 200 feet.
You'll still hear it. Right? Right.
Yeah.
Okay,
That's
okay,
ballpark, yeah, so.
you know, the, anybody else got a question here? No?
And I think, Mayor, that concludes our presentation.
Yeah.
So I want to thank the board for their valuable input and guidance. We know to the extent we were able to move forward, it'll continue to be a collaborative process. Our purpose tonight was to present you our most recently enhanced architectural elevations. And as Joe Carey mentioned in his staff report, to ask for your support on the architecture, that it is substantively appropriate for this development. We know there's a process continuing with staff and plan commission, but minor changes and certainly the full development of the entire product line will be a critical part of the process. And on the land plan side, we talked a little bit back in November about the 128 lots and how important that is. And we would ask for your support on that as well. I know there's been some talk about front yard setbacks and so forth that could certainly compromise open spaces. You know, we look forward to continuing that discussion with the staff. We feel very strongly about the current framework for the plan, but always want to consider other options. But the 128 lots is an important part of the framework for being able to move forward. So thank you again, and we'd ask that you give us positive support on both of those components of our proposal.
And Jan, you know, and Joe, who's been working most closely with these guys? Joe. So Joe, do you have any comments on the architecture?
I think that I've outlined myself and my staff's comments on the architecture in the report. They have made great strides from what was initially proposed. There are still some things that we need to work on with them. The wedding cake feature, which is outlined in the plans, is something that we want to make sure they continue to work on. You know, the combination of landscaping as well as looking at the additional key lot areas is certainly something that we're going to be paying extra special attention to make sure it's in keeping with the character of the quality development that they've indicated they want this to be.
So at this point, do you think this is a wow?
I think they make good strides. I think it's pretty good, and I think they'll get there. And we're certainly going to be working with them throughout the technical review process to get them there.
Does anybody think it's a wow at this point?
It's good, solid stock housing.
I think the wow factor is the trees and where they're gonna, I mean, when you look at what's
Well, yeah,
out
but,
there,
you know.
is it wow to me? Not yet.
They're not buying the
You know,
trees
not yet. I want to
completely.
see a little more detail. I want to see what you're going to do with lighting on these houses. I want to see some changes that you're going to make, and then I'll come back and tell you whether I think it's a wow or not.
And I think
But I do
the
think-
pricing is comparable to
Yes.
Greg's Landing, and I think this is much more upscale because it's limited to 128, it's the gated, it's that whole 9 yards, so.
We're getting there.
think it's as nice as the estate homes back in your neighborhood?
Oh, yeah, I think it's much better.
You think so?
Yeah.
You got 3-car garages,
Three-car garage, standard, yes.
which you can't do, well, nobody did a horseshoe driveway over there.
One, I
Okay,
think.
so-
It was one or two, yeah.
Uh, I'll ask Joe again, then, unless John wants to comment. How many variances do you think they're gonna need to do this project?
Not sure. We're going to work with them on a number of different factors, whether it's photometrics, setbacks, landscaping. There's going to be a number of things that we'll be working with them as part of the PUD process.
So less than 20 or more than 20?
Once we have a full set of plans, I'll be able to answer that more fully.
John?
I think Joe's correct. I mean, it is a package. I don't think it's 20 variations, but because it is a PUD, it provides some flexible design criteria that will be developed as a part of this. I think their landscape architect touched on the idea of being able to be flexible with some of the pathway locations because you may have some trees in there that you're trying to protect or preserve, so that may result in an additional variation for one lot or two lots that may not be carried through the entire development. Obviously, it's a private street, so that's a change in policy that you all will have to consider. In terms of the overall setbacks and the like, if you're looking to apply a standard subdivision setback to it, they can comply. But again, if you're trying to create some interest and some diversity within this community that they're proposing, there will be variations that will be granted again to move houses around, again, for design purposes or preservation purposes. So it's hard to put a number on it because, again, you've got 128 homes here, 128 different locations that this will be applicable to. But going forward, I think there's a lot of merit to looking at applying the flexible design criteria to this that isn't necessarily merited or warranted in other areas within the community itself. So that's my comment on that part of it. I would go back to one question that you raised about 3-car garages, and is that an option as a part of the elevation or the units? And looking at those units going forward, that will change the complexity or complexion of that front elevation and the placement of that home and how that'll go, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah,
So,
and actually, and you are, or did you want to answer this one, or?
Yeah,
Sure.
you are correct.
Yes.
It will change the whole front elevation
Right.
and massing, if you will. To go back to one of the things that Mark mentioned, we do have a variety of 3-car garages and 2-story.
Right.
And there are also, it's 2-car garage front door, but a tandem, so it's an
Got
extra
it.
deep.
Okay.
So there's a variety of plans that offer that as well.
that's an important
Yeah.
element to point out. to
So
folks.
it'll be that large, deep. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes,
Be
sir.
deep.
Yeah.
So you could put 2 cars, one behind the other.
Yep, one behind the other and then one to the left
One
or
to the
right.
left
how-
and right.
how do you-
Okay.
I mean, and then the other thing.
Well, what does that do to the setback required,
Well, that makes it may or may not make the house deeper depending on the way it goes.
It
So,
tends to not make the house deeper because it's just reconfigured differently in terms of the first
Got it,
floor
okay.
living.
Okay.
So, but there will be a combination of 2-car garage doors with 3-car garage capacity, as well as 3-car garage doors, correct?
and then one other comment, going back to Trustee Schultz's comments about garage storage and space and everything like that. I would encourage you to look at space for the garbage toters.
Okay.
Garbage and recycling toters,
Yeah.
because that is one of the challenges that we've seen in other homes throughout. How do we handle or how do we place those? And obviously, you're going to create a community here where you aren't going to let people store them outside.
Correct.
So how do you fit those in your garage and with all the other stuff that people might have? So,
I'll just stay up here.
You don't need to answer that now.
Okay, well, can I answer it
It's
real
up to
quick?
you.
Yeah, I want to hear.
So the depth of our garage is roughly 24 to 25 feet. So therefore, usually you want to have at least 20, 21 feet for parking. So the totals would go up by the garage to house wall, if you will. So, but great point. And the extra storage is something that we're always considering in our overall plan design. You know, because people do have a lot of stuff, and we encourage them to, you know, try to use the garage as well as their basement as well. So.
Got it.
So the three-car garage looks like a two-car garage from the street.
Right.
On some of the elevations,
But
correct.
you're not gonna show 3 doors.
On some of the elevations.
You will.
But some of them will.
So
have
then that'll change the width of the lot.
Yeah, or the width of the house as is shown, you would add 10 feet for the third car garage.
So you might then be over 70 feet?
No, everything would fit within essentially a 48-foot footprint in terms of building width. So the lots are 61 feet
Right.
wide minimum, and our maximum building envelope is 48 feet. So-
And the depth can be more.
Oh, absolutely, right.
Yeah, okay.
And again, that's an important elevation that this board and the Plan Commission specifically will want to see because of the width of those doors. And whether it's 2 and 1 or however that is, that's going to require specific review as a part of this overall process. So just keep that in mind.
Very good, thank you.
Okay, so you're looking for approval to go to technical review? All right, so do we have closure on first floor brick or stone?
Both.
I know, but I mean, do we want them to do the first floor
Well, yes,
in brick and stone?
absolutely.
Okay, all the way around the house?
Yeah.
Okay.
We
You
showed-
understand that?
Well, I want to just point out in the context of the presentation, we showed for each model a standard elevation and then an upgraded
Right.
front
But
elevation.
you showed,
And the side, rear elevations are on those 2 columns. And it's a variety of material, a variety of detail. But to
Right.
the mayor's point, it is not first floor brick, all 4 sides.
Which, you know,
but
We're adding detail, we're adding color, we're adding box bays. We are, on some of the key lots, adding substantially masonry along the side and rear elevations. But no, I want to make it clear to the board, and there will certainly be opportunities to upgrade on that. In fact, today, we talked with staff about offering even a much more contented, as an option, house in terms of masonry. But in terms of the base elevation, it would be, once again, substantively in conformance with what you see here.
Yeah.
Which is a combination of materials and, once again, trying to achieve the village's goal of 4-site architecture.
So in other words, the low around the side and the back is what you're using to maintain the 4-side?
It's the masonry, it's the bump outs, it's the band boards, it's the
Yeah, it's the
additional
stuff coming up to the
detail.
base of the
Right,
window and
to
that,
the
yeah.
base.
Correct,
exactly.
yeah, right.
Yeah, that works.
Okay.
okay, setbacks, that one's still open, isn't it?
Yes.
yeah.
Mike, Tim? The setbacks, more than 25 feet?
Yeah.
Is Tim with me?
Yeah, but I was thinking about sidewalks, and is it possible to get a sidewalk on, oh, sorry, a sidewalk on some of these, on one side of the street?
Yeah, a good question, trustee, and as everyone's talking, we've got our consultant team thinking, so we can try to come up with some guidance. Chuck again.
On the sidewalk, we've been
Yeah.
kind of sketching the back, 'cause we've been listening, and what we're looking at is where can we add a strategic carriage walk on one side of the roadway that would then connect to the trail system. So what we owe you when we come back is a kind of a dimmed-down plan where the trail system will just pop out very strongly. And I think if we can develop a network that's sometimes behind the houses, sometimes cutting through a park, maybe a few strategic links on one side of the roadway, that it'll come together, and some of those walks that will circulate through the gardens and the south lawn to really pull it all together. So we think we have some room to make some additions and changes on that.
And then just to add to the sidewalk question or the comment, we still need to make sure everybody understands that we're looking at creating some kind of sidewalk connection along Milwaukee Avenue, some circuitous way of going and
You mean
connecting.
outside of their property?
Well, I don't think you can be outside of it.
Yeah,
But
probably
it's got to be some way of carving something through that basically starts in front of Staples and ends up down in front of, or connecting to the Amley lot. So, you know, that's all part of this.
That's a pretty good run.
Yes,
That's a lot,
absolutely is.
yeah.
But it's consistent.
Well, it's part of what we were talking about earlier, about our whole pedestrian
Exactly.
system.
Right.
That's
You know.
exactly right.
Right,
So-
for bike, sure.
You clear with that?
Well, we were just chatting, I mean, to the north, and we've been talking with the village for some time about at our main entrance, you know, and whether it's the village or Pulte or in combination, working with EG&G in terms of securing, you know, the easement to create a connection to the north. I don't know, are you talking about to the south?
All the way from the EJ&E down to Amley,
Yeah, because,
along Milwaukee,
you know, Tim.
on the west side of Milwaukee.
Yeah, I think there are
Yeah, 'cause
a
we-
number of
You know.
constraints
along Milwaukee Avenue.
Well, yeah, within the right-of-way or adjacent to the curb line, yes, I think Dave would concur with that. That's not where it's likely going to go.
Okay.
It's likely going to go inside the wooded area or some area like that, and we can't design it now, but it's just something to keep in mind.
Because eventually they could go 3 lanes.
Correct. Well, it actually could go 4, because it's 3 right now.
Is it 3 there?
Yeah.
Oh, Christ,
Because
okay.
remember,
Oh, that probably won't go, well,
Cuneo had to construct it all the way down to Ring Road.
Yes, sir.
yeah, well, yeah, I
So.
okay.
Yeah, part of, yeah, we just.
We're not, well, what, the other side of the street's only 2.
Right,
Oh,
right.
yeah, that's right. Oh,
So-
boy.
So that's just something to keep in mind going forward, so I don't know.
Oh, Dave, do we need right-of-way committed from them for anything in the future?
We're still working with them. They're still at an early stage. We want to talk to them about what John brought up in terms of the pedestrian connectivity. We think that's very important. We have to get down to that type of detail. So yes, we will talk to them as far as what right-of-way is needed. I also wanted to help a little bit in terms of the setback, and, you know, this isn't going to be a standard subdivision, and I understand, Mayor, from your comments that a sidewalk may be important in certain areas. We have done before where we had a carriage walk like what they're talking about. We can figure out whether it's 4 feet, whether it's 5 feet, maybe it's just 4 in this case. Where are the trees? How are we going to preserve them? The other comment I'm hearing is we don't want to have a car overhanging the sidewalk. So I don't know what dimension you're proposing, back a curb to the face of the garage. We should discuss that, but potentially when 4 to 5 feet, and then you need to have 25 feet so you're not overhanging or hitting into the garage. I don't know if your land plan accommodates for 30 feet. If it does, I think there's less of a discussion, at least from a staff standpoint. They will tell you what their opinion is.
We can continue to work, I can tell you, and I gave the range 20 to 25 feet. What I really meant is 25 feet currently in terms of our front yard setback assumption. And we've certainly done that in other communities, but you understand the director's concern about the length of vehicles and
And when I'm focusing on this, as we get off of the traffic signal and that main thoroughfare, there's going to be more traffic. They probably are traveling at a higher rate of speed compared to when you're getting towards a cul-de-sac. So anyway, that's just the general thoughts I wanted to share with everyone.
Sure. Well, we'll make sure that vehicles can park in the driveway. We'll make sure that there is an integrated and connected pathway system throughout the community, and we'll continue to balance the constraints of tree preservation and open space. So the the front yard setback, if the drivers for an extended front yard setback are to create enough room for parking, storage, and pathway systems, I'm confident that we can work with staff in achieving those goals. It may not necessarily be an extended front yard setback, but we will make sure that those functional components of the community work, period.
Okay. Yeah, anything else from anybody? Okay, so we need a motion to
Proceed to technical review,
refer this to,
P&Z.
well, it's not going to P and Z yet, is it going to go to technical review with staff?
Bob has a speech to make, and I
I
think
could say it, yeah.
Well, I have more than my traditional speech. I have another speaking part, and that was just to update the board on the status of matters going along with the county. There's 10 of the acres of this property are subject to a covenant that says it could only be commercial use. We've got to amend that covenant, and the county has got to agree to it. Loyola and the village have agreed to language. We've sent that language up to the county. I still need to get confirmation, but we're expecting that that would be voted on by the county in April. I think the county is geared up for that, but I still need to get confirmation on that. And then there'll also be independent, really, of the village, sewer agreement with the county so that so that they can get their sewer and water, but that's not really involving the village directly. So that aspect of this is moving along. And I might as well keep on speaking for my real speaking part. This is concept presentation. It is not binding on the village board. It'll go through technical review, it'll go through the Planning and Zoning Committee, and Commission will come back. And anything said here is to give you a sense of where the board is thinking based on what they've been given, but they have the ability to come up with any decision once they get the whole presentation made.
So Mark, how many deal breakers did we touch on?
Oh, these were all important potential deal breakers this evening.
Or-
That is why we're here this
Still
evening.
could be deal breakers, huh?
To the extent that the board gives us the go-ahead to move to technical review, and we'll continue to work with staff in a collaborative process, I'm excited about moving forward.
So there's no deal breakers on the table that we discussed tonight?
We talked a little bit about the front yard setbacks, and I think I qualified it at the end saying, to arbitrarily go to 30 or 35 feet, that could be a deal breaker, but if we can do it in the context of providing the pathway and enough driveway length for vehicles, look at Chuck Hanlon, our land planner, is talking to Loyola, but I am confident that we can do that. So the question was, are there any deal breakers? And we talked about the front yard setback, potentially changing, but now we're talking about in the context of just having pathway systems and driveway length that can accommodate a vehicle, as opposed to going to some standard just for the sake of going to a standard. So.
The apron's gonna be under about 4 feet of snow in some good storm.
I'm sorry.
The apron,
Oh, yes.
it'll be melting into your house, Okay, go ahead.
I'm pretty optimistic about being able to come back with some adjustments on the streetscape aspect dimensions and carriage walk and et cetera. The sidewalk along Milwaukee, I was just talking to Tim, it's something that's it's going to be a tough one. I don't want to sit here and say it's a deal breaker or it's impossible to do it, but
Nothing's impossible.
It's physically along Milwaukee, there's grading issues and tree issues. I don't think we want to knock down 50 trees to put the sidewalk in. And as you bring it into the property, it's a security issue and et cetera. So it's going to be a tough, we'll look at it. That's going to be a tough one, but not here tonight to say we can't do anything. But you asked if there was any tough ones. That probably might be the one that jumps out a little bit, but we'll work with staff.
Good, I'm
Yeah,
glad
work
you
with staff.
admitted
out,
there's
yeah.
one. Come on, there's gotta be 4 or 5 more, Okay, we need a motion to Approve, well, I guess what we're doing is approving this to actually go to technical review. Is that accurate, or do I gotta, you want me to get into specificity on everything?
How do you want it worded?
Well, we don't need a motion, Your Honor. What we just need is direction.
Consensus. Okay, that's fine.
A general consensus of the committee.
Okay, trustee Schultz,
Go to technical review.
Cindy?
Go.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Thank you
Well,
very
I'm
much.
sure we'll see a lot more in the near future.
Absolutely. Thanks again for
Thank
your
you.
valuable time, and we look forward to working with your staff. They've been terrific, and we'll go from there. Thank you again.
Okay. All right, we got anything else? No? Is there a motion to adjourn committee of the whole?
So made.
Second.
Motion is second, roll call, please.
Trustees Williams, Habda,
Aye.
Schultz,
Aye.
Marfort,
Aye.
Cook,
Aye.
Grieve.
Aye.
Motion carries, thank you, and good night.
Hey, can we pull the sidewalk on the other side of Milwaukee? Because we got